Picture this. You can legally buy a dried plant bud that looks exactly like cannabis, smells like cannabis, and comes from the cannabis plant. But whether you're a law-abiding citizen or a criminal depends on a decimal point. Today, we're diving into the wonderfully bonkers world of CBD flower in the UK, specifically how a 0.2% difference can land you in legal hot water, why police officers are basically forced to become chemistry experts, and what this regulatory chaos actually means for the millions of Brits navigating this market. By the end of this episode, you'll understand exactly what makes CBD flower legal or illegal, and why this whole situation is basically a masterclass in how not to write drug policy. So let's start with the basics. What exactly are we talking about here?
Right, so CBD flower is essentially the dried buds of cannabis sativa plants that are low in THC, that's tetrahydrocannabinol, the stuff that gets you high. According to the page content, in the UK, legal CBD products must contain no more than 0.2% THC by dry weight.
Wait, 0.2%? That's incredibly specific. Like, suspiciously specific.
Exactly. And here's where it gets properly mental. This threshold aligns with European Union standards, so we're basically following EU rules for a plant that looks identical to illegal cannabis. The page content says any product exceeding the 0.2% THC limit is treated as cannabis and falls under stricter controls.
So you're telling me that 0.19% THC makes you a health-conscious consumer, but 0.21% makes you a drug dealer?
That's actually not far off. And the really bonkers bit is that CBD itself isn't even a controlled substance under the Misuse of Drugs Act. It's specifically the THC content that matters.
This is already sounding like something from a Monty Python sketch. But let's dig deeper. What makes this a gray area exactly?
Well, according to the page content, while hemp-derived CBD oil and finished consumables are widely sold, raw or dried CBD hemp flowers intended for smoking face regulatory ambiguity and enforcement scrutiny.
So you can buy CBD oil at Holland & Barrett, but the flower it comes from is somehow dodgy?
Precisely. The page content explains that CBD extracts and finished products are acceptable when processed appropriately, while unprocessed buds may be treated differently depending on interpretation. It's like saying you can have flour but not wheat.
That's absolutely mental. And I'm guessing the visual similarity doesn't help matters?
Oh, that's the real kicker. The page content specifically mentions that hemp buds and high THC cannabis can look almost identical, which creates challenges for regulators and law enforcement. Imagine being a police officer trying to tell the difference.
Right, so they'd need to, carry around a portable chemistry lab? Excuse me, sir, mind if I just run a quick spectral analysis on your perfectly legal plant matter?
You joke, but that's essentially what it comes down to. The page content says it's essential to verify lab reports or certificates of analysis demonstrating the CBD and THC content. So consumers need to be walking around with lab certificates like some sort of botanical passport.
This gets more absurd by the minute. What about the people actually buying this stuff? Are they all chemistry graduates?
Well, according to the page content, UK CBD flower customers tend to be health-conscious users looking for a healthy alternative to THC-rich cannabis. The page content from Hemp Elf notes this type of flower doesn't get people high, which is one of the main reasons why it doesn't fall into the same legal status as THC flower.
So these are people trying to do the right thing, basically?
Exactly. And the numbers are quite interesting. According to the page content, roughly 8% to 11% of adults in the United Kingdom had tried a CBD product as of June 2019. That's potentially millions of people navigating this legal minefield.
Millions? And how are they supposed to know if what they're buying is legal?
Well, the page content suggests that hemp flower should be lab tested, preferably by a third-party laboratory, and should be one of the certified EU hemp strains. But here's the thing, the page content also notes that not all hemp flower in the UK are equal.
Of course they're not, because that would be too simple, wouldn't it?
Right. And get this, the page content mentions that for CBD flower, some licenses are required, such as an industrial hemp license, which allows for the cultivation of approved EU seed varieties with less than 0.2% THC. So you need special permission to grow the legal stuff.
So let me get this straight. You need a license to grow something that's legal, but the thing you're growing looks identical to something that's illegal, and whether it's actually legal depends on a chemistry test?
You've basically summarized the entire regulatory framework in one sentence. And according to the page content, there have been several key moments where the industry saw its legality tested, and each time the courts allowed for the industry to continue to thrive.
Wait, so this has been to court multiple times? That's not exactly a ringing endorsement of clear legislation, is it?
Not at all. And the page content specifically mentions that because enforcement and interpretation can vary, responsible retailers focus on sourcing compliant hemp strains, providing third-party lab testing, and ensuring products meet UK safety expectations.
So basically, the retailers are doing the government's job of figuring out what's legal?
Pretty much. And here's another fascinating bit. The page content mentions that the Home Office and police may take action if the product is considered cannabis with higher THC content or marketed for psychoactive effects. So marketing matters too.
Right, so you can't say this will get you high even if it's the exact same plant, just with slightly different chemistry?
Exactly. The page content explains that advertising cannot imply medical benefits without authorization, and claims must align with approved uses to avoid regulatory action. It's like a linguistic minefield on top of the chemical one.
This is getting properly Kafkaesque now. What about buying the stuff? Is that any less complicated?
Well, according to the page content, there are a handful of physical and online CBD flower shops to choose from in the UK. Interestingly, it's generally accepted that buying CBD online is the safest and most trustworthy way to source high-quality legal products.
Online is safer? That seems counterintuitive for something in a legal gray area.
I know, right? But the page content explains that when you buy hemp flower at a physical shop, you don't get the same variety of options that you get when you buy it at an online shop. Plus, online retailers can more easily provide those crucial lab reports.
So you're more likely to get proper documentation from someone you've never met than from a shop you can actually visit. That's actually quite British, isn't it?
Ha! And speaking of British bureaucracy, the page content mentions something called the novel foods process. Some CBD products require novel foods authorization to be sold in the UK, which ensures safety, labeling, and quality standards.
Novel foods? Are we talking about molecular gastronomy here or just plants?
Just plants, but apparently they're novel because we haven't been eating them long enough. It's another layer of regulation on top of everything else. The page content also mentions that CBD-containing medicines are regulated by the MHRA and may require a prescription or licensing.
So depending on how you use the exact same plant, it could be a food supplement, a novel food, a medicine, or an illegal drug?
You've got it. And the page content notes that law enforcement focuses on misrepresentation, sale of high THC materials, and underage access, as well as products that fail safety or labeling standards. So they're trying to police chemistry, marketing, and paperwork all at once.
No wonder this is described as evolving rather than settled. It's like trying to nail jelly to a wall, isn't it?
Perfect analogy. And here's what really gets me. The page content mentions that consumer interest in CBD is growing, according to the European Monitoring Centre for Drugs and Drug Addiction. So demand is increasing while the legal framework remains completely bonkers.
Right, so more people want it, but nobody can figure out how to regulate it properly. What does this actually mean for regular people?
Well, according to the page content, if you see a CBD flower that you're curious about, it's always a good idea to ask for the lab tests. That way you can understand what you're buying beyond what you can see on the surface.
So the practical advice is basically become your own quality control inspector?
Pretty much. The page content emphasizes that it's important to ensure that hemp flower is lab tested, preferably by a third-party laboratory, and sourced by professionals to avoid low-quality product. You're essentially doing due diligence that should probably be handled by regulation.
And what happens if you get it wrong? Are we talking about a slap on the wrist or proper criminal charges?
Well, the page content mentions that any product exceeding the 0.2% THC limit is treated as cannabis and falls under stricter controls. So potentially, yes, you could be looking at criminal charges for a decimal point error.
That's genuinely terrifying. You could accidentally become a criminal because someone's lab equipment wasn't calibrated properly.
Exactly. And the page content notes that many cannabis-based products available to buy online may be illegal in the UK and potentially dangerous, with no guarantee of quality or health benefits. So you're navigating both legal and safety risks.
This whole thing is like a masterclass in how to create maximum confusion with minimum clarity, isn't it?
It really is. The page content specifically states that CBD flower legality is often described as evolving rather than completely settled, which is a very polite way of saying nobody has a clue what they're doing.
So when you step back from all this regulatory chaos, what's the real takeaway here?
I think the real story is that we've created a system where millions of people are trying to make legal choices about their health and wellness, but the rules are so unclear that even the experts can't agree on what's allowed.
And meanwhile, people are just trying to buy something that might help them sleep better or manage anxiety, and they need a chemistry degree to do it safely.
Exactly. The page content shows that this has been a hot topic in the UK for nearly 10 years, and we're still no closer to sensible regulation. If anything, it's gotten more complicated.
Right. So here's what you need to know if you're thinking about CBD flower. Always ask for lab reports, stick to reputable online retailers, and maybe keep a lawyer on speed dial.
And remember that 0.2% threshold is the difference between being a health-conscious consumer and accidentally breaking the law, which is absolutely mental when you think about it.
Thanks for joining us on Copilot Podcasts. The next time someone tells you drug policy is complicated, just remember CBD flower, where the same plant can be legal, illegal, or somewhere in between, depending on which bureaucrat you ask and what day of the week it is.